All right, let's just jump right into this week's AI recap. Just when you think things can't possibly get any faster, a week like this comes along and just floors it. We've got some massive leaks, an absolutely staggering amount of money flying around, and some huge strategic chess moves that are literally redrawing the map of the entire industry. It's a lot to unpack, so let's get into it. So here's what we're going to cover. We're going to start with the big players, the giants, and all the pressure they're under. Then we'll dive into the pretty wild psychological games AI is starting to play. After that, we'll follow the money. And oh boy, is there a lot of it. Then we'll look at the human angle, jobs, trust, and how one person can build a billion-dollar company. And finally, we'll see how the rulebook is being completely rewritten as we speak. All right, first up, the giants. This week was just packed with some serious corporate drama. We're talking leaked secrets, deep personal rivalries boiling over, and some incredibly expensive decisions coming out into the open.
It really felt like everyone's cards were suddenly on the table, whether they wanted them to be or not. We saw everything from accidental major data leaks to some pretty intense personal feuds being aired out in public. The pressure was definitely on.
So get this. Anthropic, the company that's all about AI safety, had an absolutely wild week, with not one but two huge leaks. First, details spilled out about their next big model, Mythos, which is apparently a beast when it comes to cyber capabilities, like finding security flaws. They're actually worried it could be used by hackers. Then, as if that wasn't enough, the source code for their coding assistant also leaked, and it revealed unreleased features like an AI pet named Buddy, complete with stats for chaos and snark. You can't make this stuff up. And believe me, the drama did not stop there. The personal rivalry between the heads of Anthropic and OpenAI got even more intense. A Wall Street Journal report dug up this quote from Anthropic's CEO, Dario Amodei, comparing the whole legal battle to Hitler versus Stalin. Wow. It just shows how deep the animosity runs, which apparently started way back when they all lived in the same house in San Francisco. Meanwhile, OpenAI was fighting its own battle with costs. Their video generator, Sora, which looked absolutely incredible, was reportedly costing them $1 million every single day, just for the computing power. That's just not sustainable, right? So they pulled the plug and are now pouring those resources into a new model codenamed Spud, which is built specifically to go head-to-head with Anthropic in the business world. Okay, so moving on from all that corporate mess, things got really interesting in how AI models are starting to interact. Not just with us, but with each other. This week gave us a fascinating glimpse into AI's psychological games. Microsoft is trying something really interesting. They're calling it a critique and counsel system, but it's basically an AI duel. They use one model, like ChatGPT, to do all the initial work and write a report. And then they bring in a different model, like Claude, to come in and just rip it to shreds. Check the facts, question the logic. The big takeaway here: one AI might sell you on anything, so you better get a second opinion. But what happens when these AIs talk to us? Well, a new Stanford study found they have this massive people-pleasing problem. The chatbots agreed with users more than half the time, even when the person was just flat out wrong. And the scary part is, this just reinforces our own biases. It literally made people more self-righteous and more certain they were correct after talking to the AI. All right, let's talk about the money. And I mean big money. The amount of cash and talent moving around the industry right now is just mind-boggling. It's a total reshuffling of the deck on a scale we've never seen before. Okay, so OpenAI just closed the biggest venture fundraise ever. We're talking $122 billion. That puts their valuation at over $850 billion. This insane cash injection is all about fueling their dream of building a single AI super app, and it's being driven by massive growth with their business customers, who now account for nearly half their revenue. And just when you think that number is insane, hold on to your hats. Elon Musk's SpaceX is reportedly aiming for an IPO that would value the company at $1.75 trillion. As part of the deal, SpaceX would absorb his other company, xAI, basically creating this monster combination of space tech and artificial intelligence. It would instantly become one of the most valuable companies on the planet. Let's actually put this into perspective, because the numbers are just wild. If they raise between $50 and $75 billion, that would completely shatter the old record. It's more than double what Saudi Aramco raised. This would be a truly historic moment, the first US mega IPO of the AI era. So while some companies are swimming in cash, others are making some pretty radical changes. Jack Dorsey's company, Block, just laid off over 4,000 people. That's 40% of their entire staff. And he's not saying it's because they're in trouble. No. He's making a huge strategic bet that AI can just replace the entire layer of middle management. Okay, so all this brings us to the human side of things, right? Because we're seeing this wild contrast between this growing fear among the general public and these incredible stories of what individuals can now achieve with AI. A new poll really shows how nervous people are getting. A full 70% of people now think AI is going to reduce the number of jobs available. And you can see a clear split based on income. Basically, the richer you are, the more optimistic you are about AI. For people making under 50 grand a year, 60% think it does more harm than good. So yeah, there's a lot of fear out there about jobs and the future. So where's the optimism? Where's the good news that the people building this tech keep talking about?
Well, it's kind of hard to be optimistic when you hear about stuff like this. OpenAI has a thing called Project Stagecraft, where they're paying thousands of professionals, we're talking pharmacists, aviation experts, HR managers, to create training data based on their own jobs. One of the people in the program said it perfectly. We all were aware that we were basically training AI to replace us. But then you get a story that is the complete opposite of that. Check this out. A founder named Matthew Gallagher built an entire company selling weight loss drugs online. He used ChatGPT for the code, Midjourney for the ads, and AI agents for customer service. He went from idea to launch in 2 months with just 20 grand. And now, the business is on track to do $1.8 billion in sales this year, and he runs it almost completely by himself. This is the first real-life solo billionaire founder that Sam Altman has been talking about. Okay, so for our last section, let's look ahead. Let's see how the big players are basically throwing out the old rulebook and writing a new one when it comes to strategy, media, and open source. So OpenAI, after taking a few hits in the press, did something nobody really expected. They made their first media acquisition, buying a popular tech talk show. The executive who ran the deal said it best: "The standard comms playbook just doesn't apply to us. They've decided the old way of doing PR is broken, so they're just going to buy their own channel to talk directly to the tech world." And not to be left out, Google made a really big move in the open source world with its new Gemma 4 models. Now, the tech is cool, but the real story here is the license. They released it under something called Apache 2.0, which, to put it simply, takes the legal handcuffs off for other companies. It makes it super easy for businesses to build their own commercial products on top of Google's tech, making it a serious competitor in the open source race overnight. So when you step back and look at the week, I mean, wow. You've got secret models, bitter rivalries, trillion-dollar deals, and people building billion-dollar companies from their laptops. The whole AI world is accelerating at a truly dizzying speed. There's more money, more power, and higher stakes than ever. It really makes you wonder, with all this chaos, who is actually steering the ship?